shall follow the sun. The vital role that grandparents play within the family, the church and the community are going to be celebrated during a pilgrimage in Norfolk later this month. Families will be welcomed to the Catholic Shrine of Our Lady of Walsingham, where they'll hear a special reflection from the founder of the Catholic Grandparents Association and the grandmother herself, Catherine Wiley. Well, the association was started right here in our county, now has followers around the world. Catherine's been speaking to BBC Radio Norfolk's Kirstine Thorne about the pilgrimage and why it's more important than ever to treasure our elders.
I really believe that grandparents were never, ever as important to the family, to the church, to society as they are today. I mean, I speak to so many people who say to me they could not be at work today if it were not for their mother or their father. So I think as opposed to previous times when grandparents had fairly stereotypical roles, grandparents today are multitasking. Most grandparents, or many grandparents, still have got jobs of their own and are picking up the children from school, dropping them off, babysitting. They're always there to sort of bridge the gap. And of course, grandparents are the most trusted babysitters and minders for their children. And so I think that never before, I don't think, were grandparents as important as they are today, particularly to the family. And they need to be honoured and thanked, and they need to look after themselves, because very often they get caught up in it.
The support that grandparents are providing these days is crucial to, like you say, so many families. But it's more than just useful childcare. That time spent with the children comes with a great deal of love and affection. It's not just a convenient childminder, a cheap babysitter. What do you think that is doing for families today, that love and that bond that's coming with such an increased contact with their grandchildren?
Well, I think there is a unique bond of trust and love between grandparents and grandchildren. Very often you find that grandparents have a much better relationship with their grandchildren than they manage to have with their own children. So in many cases, it's a second chance for grandparents, particularly parents who go out to work. I mean, when I was a working grandmother. I had to go out to work to help provide for my family, and so many grandparents are in the same boat today. But that bond, that time that you spend, is immeasurable. It's you can't measure it. It's priceless. And also, grandparents have the wisdom and the understanding. They're not the parents. They're just there to support parents and to help them, not to take over as parents. It's the parents' principal primary role to educate and bring up their children. But the Vatican, the Pontifical Council for the Family in Rome, very recently didn't redefine the role of grandparents, but I certainly think that the Catholic Grandparents Association helped them to redefine it by saying that parents were the primary educators, but grandparents were the preeminent collaborators in the upbringing and education and instruction of grandchildren.
How did becoming a grandmother change your life and your faith?
Well, I can't describe. I mean, grandparents listening to this will know what I mean. They'll know exactly what I mean when I say that parents love their children, but grandparents absolutely adore them. I mean, I've got my grandchildren staying with me at the moment, summer holiday time, and I've got the parents. And a look, between my grandchildren and myself can just, we have an unspoken bond. So it's a wonderful, wonderful joy. Nobody can describe it, how much you love your grandchildren and how much you want for them. But it's very different to being a parent, because when I was a parent, I wanted, like most parents, I wanted the best education, the best job, the best career, the best university. Now that I'm a grandparent, I really just want my grandchildren to be decent human beings, and honestly to know the difference between right and wrong, because we're living in a culture that is very, very hostile to family values, to faith, particularly to faith. And it's important, I think, that grandparents are able to help their children in this area. Becoming a grandparent changed my life, and my faith, I would say, became deeper, because you can't pass it on if you haven't got it. You have to practice your own faith. You're the role model. And I think that these days, with so many broken and fragmented families, grandparents really are the glue that holds the family together in some cases. Walsingham pilgrimage for grandparents on the 26th of July, the feast day of St. Joachim and St. Anne, is very important. And of course, nobody or people rarely think that Jesus ever had grandparents. So it's a wonderful way of honouring St. Joachim and St. Anne, the parents of Our Lady, and honouring all grandparents and thanking them for all they've done for us.
And as Catherine mentioned there, the grandparents' pilgrimage at the Catholic Shrine of Our Lady of Walsingham takes place on Sunday, the 26th of July.